In this video, I'll be teaching you everything you need to know about the pros and cons of living in South Los Angeles. Let's get into it. Welcome to the channel, Living in Los Angeles. My name is Ra-son Theus, your Los Angeles real estate broker, and I'd like to offer you my services to hold your hand and to guide you through the entire home buying or home selling process here in the city of Los Angeles. Now, this channel is dedicated to folks just like you and helping you learn everything you need to know about living in the city of LA. So if you're here, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that every week when I release new videos, you will be notified. Living in South LA can be an experience like no other. So let's go ahead and take a deep dive and talk about what the pros and the cons are of living in South Los Angeles. Pro number one, South Los Angeles is a cultural melting pot. South LA is definitely a place where diversity thrives, and it's easy for you to get wrapped up in a lot of different cultures, traditions, background, languages, and get to experience all kinds of people that come from all different backgrounds of life. It's one of my favorite aspects of South Los Angeles, especially when it comes to food and cuisine. You get to experience all the different cultures of the world right inside of South Los Angeles. Now, con number one is going to be because of that cultural diversity and all the different backgrounds, it's definitely going to be times where you're going to run into language barriers. Now, of course, that's going to depend on who you are and what your background is. But nowadays, even that language barrier isn't as big of a deal because of the fact that there's an app for that. So you can always just bust out your smartphone, you can go to a language app, and usually you can carry on a conversation back and forth by using your phone. But it is something that you need to know about because of the cultural diversity. Depending on what your cultural background is, sometimes you'll just run into communication issues or just like I said, language barriers. And nowadays, those really aren't that hard to overcome. So pro number two is going to be the fact that South LA, because it's so centrally located here in Los Angeles, you really are in close proximity to all the fun things that Los Angeles has to offer. And a lot of some of those fun things are actually located in South LA. I made a whole nother video about South LA where I really go into detail about some of the awesome activities that you have here in South LA. And you can check that video out just by clicking right over here. Now, like I said, it's centrally located and it's really close to a lot of awesome activities. It's not very far from the beach. It's not far from even really nice neighborhoods such as Beverly Hills and Santa Monica, Pasadena, the South Bay. So like I said, centrally located. So you're really right in the middle of all the awesome activities that come along with living in Los Angeles. So con number two, on the flip side of it being so centrally located and being right in the middle of all the awesome activities of Los Angeles, comes traffic. So there definitely is a lot of traffic in South Los Angeles because it's so centrally located in LA and because most of our roads in South LA and things like that lead to other really popular parts of the city. So especially during peak hours of the day, which is going to be in your morning time when most people are going to work, and then again in the afternoon when people are coming home from work, you're going to have to deal with tons and tons of traffic. Things are going to be crowded. Even the public transportation systems during that time are very crowded. You'll see people standing up on buses and things like that. Sometimes people have to wait for the next bus to come along, things like that. So it can be very popular, very crowded, and a lot of high congestion because it is so centrally located to all the rest of the parts of Los Angeles. So pro number three is that South LA has some of the most affordable housing options in all of the city. You have to drive almost 50 to 70 miles outside of Los Angeles to find some of the same housing deals that you will right here in South LA. You could definitely find the lowest priced apartments, the lowest priced condominiums, and the lowest priced single family homes out of any other part of Los Angeles. So if you're somebody that needs to be centrally located in Los Angeles, then South LA might be an option for you. So con number three is that South LA isn't considered to be the safest part of Los Angeles. Now, one thing you need to understand is that South LA is actually a really large part of Los Angeles. Geographically, it's pretty big. So there's different parts of South LA. I made another video where I talked about that. Now, once you understand what part of South LA that you're in, then from there you can determine where the safety levels are at and what you're comfortable with. So if you're going to the west part of South Los Angeles, that's going to be your View Park, your Baldwin Hills, your Park Mesa Heights. These are pretty safe neighborhoods, pretty affluent neighborhoods, to be honest. They have home prices that start around the low millions and go all the way up to $3 million. Now, the more east that you go into South Los Angeles and the more south that you go into South Los Angeles, that's where the neighborhoods start to change a little bit. The demographics start to change a little bit, and you can definitely come into some neighborhoods that are very rough. Some of these neighborhoods still do suffer from gang violence and things like that. So it really depends on what part we're talking about. That's why it's very important if you're considering moving to South LA, you want to work with a realtor that knows that part of the city really well. I'm definitely somebody that can educate you on things like that. So if you have any questions about particular parts of South LA, be sure to reach out to me so that I can get you answers for that. A lot of times what I'll do with my clients when they're considering moving to Los Angeles is that before we even start looking at homes, I'll take you on a driving tour and just kind of take you around different parts of the city and give you my perspective about that part of the city. So pro number four is going to be the fact that South LA is definitely one of the parts of the city that does have a very strong sense of community. The people who live in South LA, for whatever reason, just have a stronger sense of community than, for my opinion, other parts of the city. Now, I was born and pretty much raised in South LA, and that's something I remember about being a kid. When I became a teenager, my family ended up moving to West Los Angeles. By the time I was in high school, I was living on the coast in Venice, California. And then when I became a young adult, I moved back into South LA. So I've been around all different parts of the city. So I've kind of gotten a feel for the different community styles that are out there in Los Angeles. And I will be honest, in West LA and some of the more coastal cities, people are a little bit more to themselves. They're a little bit more standoffish. You won't get to know your neighbors as well as you will in a community like South Los Angeles. So one of the pros of South Los Angeles is that it has a very strong sense of community, a very strong sense of sticking togetherness, where other parts in LA aren't like that. My opinion about that is because you get a lot of people who were born and raised in Los Angeles actually living in South LA versus a lot of the other parts of LA. You have a lot of implants, people coming from other places, maybe like even some of you out there watching this video right now. And a lot of times those folks want to live in West LA and some of the more affluent neighborhoods here in Los Angeles. And so it just creates a different kind of community. But like I said, definitely is a pro. There's a strong sense of community, a strong sense of sticking togetherness and having your neighbors back in the areas of South Los Angeles. All right, so con number four is going to be that South LA does still experience a lot of inequality and poverty. So the thing about you got to understand about South Los Angeles is that South LA isn't only culturally diverse, it's financially diverse. So you have a lot of different walks of life that live in and play in South Los Angeles. So in most other parts of the city, West LA, your Santa Monica's, your Beverly Hills, a lot of the your neighbors are all going to be pretty much on the same financial level. In South LA, that's not necessarily true. You have some people who live very affluent lives and have affluent incomes, and then you have people who don't. And so you kind of have that mixing pot of the financial diversity that exists. Now, something else that comes along with that in this part of the city is that there is some inequality. And most of that inequality is especially going to be in educating your children. The schools are definitely not on the same level in South LA as they are in your Santa Monica's, your West Los Angeles, your Century City, your Beverly Hills. 100%. I mean, it's literally night and day. The test scores show it. So that's something that you need to understand. If you're considering moving to South LA or buying a home in South LA, you definitely can save money on it, but you might end up spending some of that money on having to educate your kids. The other thing I would say that might be an inequality is definitely going to be that the streets are not as clean in South LA as they are in some other parts of the city. Now, during COVID, all of Los Angeles went on a decline, and no matter what part of LA you were in, you saw tons of homelessness, really dirty streets. I guess the city was overwhelmed by dealing with the COVID and the COVID-19 pandemic. But now that, you know, we're a couple of years past that, we're starting to see the other parts of LA get cleaned up. We have a new mayor, Karen Bass, and she's doing a great job with that. And we are seeing effects of that in South Los Angeles. But if you had to compare South LA to West LA, you would notice that the streets are much more dirty. There's a lot of people who kind of just like will come by and just dump trash on the block, and it can take a while for the city to come out, clean things like that up. So that's definitely something that you want to understand and know about. And it is a con, the inequality that takes place in South LA. I think as time goes by, we'll start to see a change because we have such a diverse group of people moving into South LA. A lot of folks that used to live in West LA are starting to move to South LA. And I think a lot of these folks will start to demand that those inequalities go away. I would love to hear your opinion about some of the inequalities if you're already living in LA and you're watching this video, or if you're from somewhere else and you're watching this. And I would love to know what you think about the fact that there is still a lot of inequality in South Los Angeles. Now, those are the pros and cons of living in LA. If you have any questions about South LA in particular, please feel free to reach out to me. Or if you have questions about any part of Los Angeles, I'm very knowledgeable about all of Los Angeles County, and I would love to answer your questions. You can feel free to drop your questions in the comment below, or you can just reach out to me. You can call, text, or email me, or feel free to scan the QR code that I have right over here, and you can schedule a consultation. And if you're thinking about getting into the Los Angeles real estate market and you want to make a plan, I highly recommend that you schedule a consultation with me. I'll hop on that Zoom call with you. We'll discuss your unique situation, and I'll help you come up with a game plan so that you can win in this LA real estate market. All right, guys, that's all I have for you in this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.